We've also been able to watch the presidential debate where Trump openly would not agree to a peaceful transfer of power, and he would not denounce white supremacy and openly sends dog whistles to white supremacist militia groups within the nation. In addition to that, more black men are being shot and sisters around the country are being assaulted. It means that we need to stay ready, and that's why we're here. Welcome.
Welcome to Stay Ready NOLA. It's your host, Moon.
And Sister Mo, welcome.
I think we have a really good show for you today. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of things, and we really do have a lot of things to talk about. But we're going to start with Sister Mo is doing a segment on bug out bags. And I have a great martial artist, Anita Bakari, who will be on, and he's going to be talking to us about self-defense.
Yep. And we'll also be speaking with Lake Tilly Acres about homesteading as well as dry firing.
Okay, so let's go straight to your segment on bug out bags, and you can tell people how to make that happen.
Yep. So the bug out bag is a lot of vital information on what to carry with you in the event that you have to leave in a rush and you want to be able to get back home. It's very important. Let's look at it. Hey family, Mo here. Today we're going to discuss the bug out bag. So the bug out bag is an essential kit of items that you would need typically to last you for 72 hours. So this is a 45-liter Swiss gear bag. I like this one because it has a lot of pockets. It has a water hole for your bladder. You can always, for good hydration. It has your strap so you can tightly secure anything that you have. It also has the chest straps to help support around your chest as well as your hip strap. Exterior hooks where you can add anything to it that you need to add to it. This comes with a very convenient rain flyer. You just pull it over your bag if you're caught out in the rain. You also want to make sure that you have a good strong bag with very durable zippers. Now these come with strings on them so that it helps with quick and easy access in the case of an emergency. One very basic and essential item is a tarp. Tarps are very important because they can be used for a number of things, like gloves, just essential. Next, we have what's most important, your water purifiers. So here we have a life straw. This is a straw basically like any other straw that you would drink out of. It has a purifying device in it. And if you find yourself near a flowing stream, you can drink directly out of the stream using the straw. Just for backup, you have your Sawyer water purifier, similar to the Life Cover. Contractor garbage bags, a hatchet, good sharp tools. This here is a survival blanket. So here in my Ziploc bag, I have everything that I need for my fire starting. I have matches, but I also have a lighter for redundancy, as well as a flint starter. Dryer lint is easy to help start your fire. It's used as a tinder to help build your fire. You need duct tape for anything. Make sure you have some duct tape. So next item, flashlight, charger, radio, siren. I like this because it's crank powered. So you can generate energy by cranking it and it'll help charge your phone. Make sure when you have gadgets like these, keep your instructions with it. So I just tied a rubber band around it and make sure I kept my instructions in case I get caught up. I know how to use it. Walkie-talkie, knife. Never can have too many of these. My bushcraft book. This is the Bushman Survival Bible. If you get caught outside, there's everything that you need to know about surviving in this book. Make sure if it's not this book, get something that helps you understand how to survive out in nature. Our all-weather tough gear, pen, and paper. Paracord. Also have a mask. And these are some water purifying tablets in the event that I just choose to use this instead of my life straws. Carmex or lip balm for chapped lips. Your fire starter. You use this to start any of your tinder, very vital tool. Ponchos, just in case, keep you a little dry in the rain. I have wipes and eating utensils. Very important. And insect repellent. Toothbrush and toothpaste. This is a kitchen eating kit. It doubles as your plate. It also doubles as your pot or your instruments for cooking with over fire. Your dry food, emergency packed food. You can find this at Academy, online, or even at Costco. Emergency first aid kit. Emergency insect bug and sting kit. And I also have this SOS survival kit. For my ladies, make sure you have your essentials, feminine products. Fire starter sticks makes things a lot easier when you're trying to start a fire. And I also have extra Ziploc bags just in case. So we have a lot of things in this huge, big bug out bag, but they're all vital and very essential. All of these are different components that you want to consider when you're building your bug out bag. If you have any questions, like always, reach out to us. Peace. So with the bug out bag, it's important just to have, especially in these times now. I feel that you never know when something's going to happen. Everything's happening so fast right now, and when the rising threat of militias, just road rage incidents, all kind of things that are happening, we just always want to make sure that we're prepared, and that's one reason why we want to talk about the various threats that we may encounter, and one of those being who Trump is quote unquote but not buddies with, but the Proud Boys and various other militia groups. What do you say about that,
brother? So first of all, the Proud Boys are the militia, and I think that it's important for us to really understand kind of the landscape of what's going on in this country, so that we really know, who's out there, what's going on, and who these people are and what they're thinking. So the Proud Boys were started by, if you've ever seen Vice News, that the guy who started the Proud Boys actually also started Vice, and they're it would take me a long time to really go into, but the gist of it is, right now they kind of consider themselves the proxy militia of Donald Trump. And I guess, for me to say militia, but it's not organized along those lines. A militia is more like a military. The militia, has a general, has sergeants, but they, I would consider them like the brown shirts were to Hitler. That basically, during World War II, the brown shirts were out there basically fighting Hitler's enemies. And, these people are out there. And, I think, it's interesting to me when you talk about the way we have been gaslighted, our community all this time, when we talk about our relationship to the police, and, people are like, oh, the police are fair to everyone. But now you see open white supremacists out there, and they have a Nazi flag, Confederate flag, and a Blue Lives Matter shirt on. They have a thin blue line patch along with their Confederate patch,
or they have the license plates on the
right. And it just kind of lets you know where their mind is. So they are absolutely upholding the state as they see it right now, the state being Trump, and they are. And I've heard them say this, so it's not me coming out with this, that they are going to do those things that the police can't do.
Right.
And they consider themselves helpful to the police.
Deputies, they deputize themselves. And in some cases, there are even law enforcement agencies throughout the country who have openly said, we adopt you as our deputies.
Well, I think, so to go along those lines, you also have to talk about the 3%ers and the Oath Keepers. The Oath Keepers would kind of be under the 3%ers. So the 3%ers, or the people call them threepers for short. And again, this is all abbreviated, and this is my own
take on this, that they believe that in the Revolutionary War, only 3% of Americans is what it took to fight against and defeat the British. So now it's going to just take 3% of Americans to take their country back, which is what their intention is, to take their country back. So under that, you have the Oath Keepers. Now, the Oath Keepers are part of the 3% movement, but the Oath Keepers are specifically supposed to be ex-military, ex or current military or law enforcement is how they promote themselves. So, they are absolutely in line in their thinking with what the police are doing and what Trump is doing. Right. But the other group in the news right now a lot is, of course, the Boogaloo. Yep. Because some people associated with them, or supposedly associated with them, were there were informants in the group, and supposedly they were trying to kidnap the governor.
California?
No, I believe it was Michigan.
Okay,
sorry. but here's one thing that's very interesting to me is that the media has been reporting them as like they're doing this in support of Trump, but the truth is they're really just anti-status. They are against the state in all this form, and they are absolutely against Trump, most of them. And this is a very loose movement, but the gist of this movement is very much anti-Trump, because they're anti-government, right. They're anti-police, and they're anti-state. So, a lot of things that they've been saying about how, the rhetoric toward the police and things like that, I can absolutely believe that. But I've seen some of the people posts that they've done on social media where they are absolutely anti-Trump. And all of this is being given to us in a right-left paradigm, like, conservative, liberal. But the truth is, it's a lot more complicated than that. Right. So, the Boogaloo movement, which is really more similar to Antifa, that Antifa are called ANCOMs, which is anarcho-communists. And I know a lot of people with Antifa would not agree with that, but that's the way that they're characterized. Not by me, that's the way they've been characterized. While the Boogaloo movement are characterized as ANCAPs, which are anarcho-capitalists or agorists. And again, with Antifa, you have, socialists, etc. So it's a spectrum. Right. But in this spectrum of anarchy, you see the Boogaloo movement on one side and Antifa on the other side. But that right now there's a movement for them to come together under what they call the black flag of anarchy, right, and put away their differences that they have as far as, anything else.
Right. Because once you accomplish your common goal, then you can sort out everything else afterwards.
Right.
Right. So they feel like, the looters, they feel like Black Lives Matter. They feel like anyone that goes against law and order, that's something that we hear a lot about, is against them. And they feel like this is absolutely their country, and it's up to them, it's their duty to take back their country. So that's what we're facing.
Okay, well, the next thing that we're going to do, so for years I studied different martial arts, and I started off in Taekwondo, and I've taken everything from boxing to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but my favorite art is Jeet Kune Do. I've also studied a lot of Filipino arts. So the person who taught me Jeet Kune Do and many of the Filipino arts, Mbita Bakari, agreed to come on and talk with us and show us some things. So here is Mbita Bakari. And I wanted to learn martial arts, and everybody was telling me, go to this person, go to that person. And he may not know this story. So I said, this is what I want. I said, I want to find somebody that's going to whip my butt until they can't whip my butt no more. And they were like, go to Mbita. And I went to like people that didn't know each other. And that's what they, like the people who had no idea that I was going to different people, his name kept coming up. So I find out that my son and his children go to the same school, but I didn't meet him. I kept asking, how do I meet him? How do I get to class? He wasn't teaching at the time. When I finally got in his class, number one, I learned so much. I mean, the first class, I felt like I could defend myself better, which is important to me every class after that, I felt like I was progressing. I was learning. Excellent teacher, but he's also an actor, stunt man. He does a lot of things. What all do you do? So you can explain yourself.
All right, so my background is basically everything that you have spoke on. All started from martial arts.
Okay.
So I started training with Terry Gibson in Tulsa, Oklahoma, back in 1990 or 91. It's a progressive martial arts studio, and Terry is a student of Dan Inosanto. I'm also a student of Dan Inosanto's. So I took the journey with Terry, and we did Kali, we did Jeet Kune Do concepts, and we did Mafalindo Pinjat Salat, all three of which I'm certified to instruct. So I taught all the way up until the film thing kind of took over, and I wasn't able to keep my commitment with my students because of my film commitments. So I just kind of stopped teaching, but you still retain that. Once a person attains a certain level of skill, that's retained. You don't lose. It's like riding a bike. Right. As soon as you can jump right back into it, at any level, and find yourself not as a fish out of water, but very comfortable in going forward. So from my martial arts background, I was able to work for a private military corporation, and we were sent to Dubai, and we were protecting some oil interests. Let's just leave it at that. And so I got to work for a private military corporation in 2007. And then I moved back to New Orleans in 2009. And that's when my film thing kind of resumed, because I've been doing film work since 1999. Stunt production work, some acting, commercials, some background work, feature background work, films like Runaway Jury, Freshman Orientation, films, small films, but not as, the volume wasn't then what it is now, right, or had been then as it is now. Filming in New Orleans is basically taken over. We're known as Hollywood South. So it's basically from my martial arts background and some of the work that I did with the PMC that I was able to transition into film very easily, especially in stunts. Mm-hmm. So in 1999, I started in stunts. I worked on Dracula 2000 as a stunt production assistant and done fight choreography on a couple of films. Welcome to the Battle Zone is the one where the director was like, dude, you need to get an agent. You're really good at this. Your hands are a little too fast for the camera, but you're really good at this. You have a good look. Get an agent. So I got an agent, and kind of that's where I am right now.
Okay. So, what we generally talk about is emergency preparedness. And you and I were talking earlier about a lot of the recent developments, a lot of what's going on. So when you look at what's going on in the streets right now, and the first thing that's going to pop in everybody's mind, of course, is the Proud Boys. And we see these videos of them fighting Antifa. We see these videos of them at rallies attacking people for Black Lives Matter and different things like that. So one of the reasons I wanted to get you on was because I know that, as far as I'm concerned, and everything you've taught me, you are my expert on martial arts.
Thank you.
So I wanted you to share that with my audience. But what do you think would be important for people to learn with everything that's going on in the world today? What types of martial arts? What do you think? Because right now we're in a period where you don't have a lot of time to get ready. What do you think people should do?
Well, like I said, my background is primarily in the Filipino martial arts. Although I have taught capoeira, I'm well versed in capoeira, but primarily my go-to art is the Filipino martial arts. And the reason for that is Filipino martial arts offer the student the gamut of combatives. We're talking about impact weapons, long and short. We're talking about edge weapons, long and short. And the unique thing about the Filipino martial arts is that what we do with the impact weapons is immediately translatable to one's empty hand weapons, and the same thing for the blades. A lot of the applications that we have that we employ with the impact weapon or the bladed weapon, they automatically translate to empty hand. So with that being said, that's immediately what you want to get into. Another unique thing about the Filipino martial arts is that, as in most martial arts, traditionally one progresses from empty hand to the weapons. Whereas in the Filipino martial arts, we start with weapons, and as you get better, you progress to the empty hand. And the reason for that being is because of the history of the Philippines. When the Philippines were being colonized by the Americans, by the Spaniards, that's where the name Philippines come from, because they were colonized under the reign of King Philip.
Okay.
The Spaniards abolished bladed weapons because of the effectiveness of the Filipinos with the bladed weapons. So then the Filipinos took to using hardwood or rattan like this, which is an exotic grass. Basically, rattan is a grass, and it just grows tall, just like bamboo can be considered a grass.
Right.
So, and what they understood or what they learned through using the impact weapons was that with a bladed weapon in combat, someone is cut, they can get stitched up, and it can go back into combat. Whereas with the impact weapons, and we're talking about woods like cocobolo, like barong, we're talking about ironwoods. When these woods smash the bone, there's no stitching there. You actually have to, put a cast on it to let it heal, and it takes longer time for that warrior to be combat effective again. A stitch is one thing, you can go right back into the fray. Whereas if your hand is crushed, if your arm is crushed, your elbow is crushed, your shin is crushed, your head is crushed, your collarbone is crushed, you're out of the fray for a longer period of time.
So what that makes me think of is that, what you're talking about, an impact weapon. An impact weapon could be anything.
Yes, it can.
I mean, it could be not only anything you could pick up off the ground, but also if and when it becomes illegal to have certain weapons or carry certain things, you can almost always find a legal, a stick or a legal thing to use as an impact weapon.
It's as basic as literally having a stick, and sticks are literally everywhere. It can even be curved. It doesn't matter. As long as you can effectively make your blows, a stick is a stick is a stick. And it can be used very, very effectively in the right hands. Because again, with the Filipino martial arts and covering the gamut, we're talking about not only just impacts, we're talking about joint manipulations. We're talking about joint locks. We're talking about affecting throws. We're talking about affecting finishing moves with the stick also, as far as chokes. Okay? So when I say it covers the gamut, I mean, we're talking everything from the weapons to the feet and everything in between. So, I want to pick up so your hands on. This is just a breakdown. That's right. 2, 4, 5. So you can have all 12, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're just going to focus on the first 5. So the same way we do this with an impact weapon, obviously, for the transition to the shell. Right? Then the transitions to. So every time you make contact stick on stick, that's literally his hand that we're aiming for in combat. So imagine he hits me with the 1, I go right here to his hand immediately. He hits me with the 2, I'm here to his hand. A 3, once again to the hand. Could be there. 4, could be there. 5, right there. Bam. Right? 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 So you also have with this different types of footwork. So we have 2 footworks. We have a female triangle that goes in this way. We have a male triangle that goes out this way. So on a surprise attack, he attacks me and I'm not ready, but I have my weapon. I bounce out. Boom. Now we also use this hand. This hand is not dead. If it's not holding a weapon, come on again. I could go here like this, then, and then, right? All of that, right? With the angle 2, same way. Boom, boom. I'm using this hand also. So if he surprise attacks me, I can move back. I'm going to arrest this hand to keep it there. So, again, checking hand, hit, check, bang, bang. That hand is now out. So I've smashed his knuckles multiple times. Multiple times. That hand is swollen out of the fight. He's halfway out of the fight. Because what I've done in essence is what we call defang the snake. We look at his arms and his legs as being the fangs of a snake. And instead of having to chop the snake's head off and kill it, I'll knock the fangs out. So when he attacks me with his hands, here, 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 with the elbows. Okay? So every time, and again, every time you hear that, 2, 3, 4, 5, every time you hear that click, in combat, that's his knuckles, his wrist, his arm, anything that he applied, anything he gives me. Because we also apply the concept or the philosophy of Jeet Kune Do. You're going to attack what's closest. So as he's attacking me, his hand is closest to me, so I'm going to attack his hand. And that's the same way we can affect this arm. Right? Once again, I use the punyo. Okay? Not necessarily a technique. This is a sensitivity drill that's teaching me how to be sensitive and also how to move my body. So I'm going to step here. Step here. So I can go here with the punyo. I can go here with the punyo. And then when he gives me this hand, I can trap. See? But bop, bop. So in the same way I use that punyo, I can use my hand. Again, if I go here with the backhand, I can trap him here. And see, this is a trap. When I can immobilize both of his arms with one of mine, I still have a free hand. I can go in here. I can go in here. I can go in here and finish. So that's basically it. So those things right there, if one has to be in that type of situation, the main thing they want to do is use your footwork. Footwork is the most fundamental aspect of any martial art. It's the footwork. Because the footwork is going to put you in a desired position to affect whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're trying to defend yourself, he attacks, I can go here. If he's got a punch, I'm going to parry that punch into my elbow. That's going to make him draw back, and then I can slide in this way. And again, trap him. Boom, boom, boom. Okay? So that's like, the main emphasis and the foundation, if you will, of the Filipino martial arts.
So that's Ibita. Like basically, the way I met him, I was looking for a martial arts teacher, and I said I wanted to find someone who not only was going to be tough. I'm like, let me find somebody who's going to beat me up. And Beta came along. He's one of the best martial arts teachers I know. I don't believe he's doing a class right now, but if y'all could find a class that he's doing,
it looks like it's some
it would be worth
information. That brother has skills. I'm ready to go. Wow, I'm ready to go put it to work now. That's exciting.
So the next segment that we have is a segment on homesteading. With Lake Tilly Acres in Rome. But first, we did want to talk about COVID because right. I know that's on everybody's mind. Mm-hmm. So, basically, there have been a lot of new things, and it's frustrating that as far as we are into this emergency, that things are still new. And the first one is that some new tests are showing that COVID can exist on a surface for up to 28 days on some surfaces under some conditions. The other one is that what I said last time we had this, which the CDC had retracted at the time, but now all of the studies are saying that COVID is basically aerosolized, that, what they were saying about it being mostly in droplets is incorrect.
Right. And you can basically get it anyway now. Right. I mean, there's so much information that's ever changing. You can't keep up with it. So the best thing is to just protect yourself no matter what. Wash your hands. Don't put your hands in your mouth, your eyes, that kind of thing. But also, I feel that preparing your body to fight viruses like this is so important, so you have to eat healthy, put as many herbs and, be prepared in case you do come across something that's will compromise your immunity.
And I think that, and I don't want anybody to take this wrong, but I think that uh, our over reliance on the media and on people telling us how we should the things we should do to stay healthy. So now they're essentially saying that uh, if it's aerosolized, that means that your cloth mask is not nearly as effective as they've been telling you. Uh, all the masks, including the N95 masks, are not nearly as effective as they've been telling you. And the N95 masks are most effective when you actually have a seal, which is hard for most people to really get, even learn how to do, and even harder to put that N95 mask on, have it sealed, and walk around for a few hours. So, like you were saying, I think, vitamin D, which means being outside,
Right.
is they talk about that as one of the ways to get your immune system up for it. Exercise, healthy eating, all of those things that we really should have been doing anyway
Exactly.
are most effective against COVID. And and the things that they've been telling us and changing all the time. And I'm in no way saying that you shouldn't do any of these things. What I'm saying is that you should be doing what's best for you and your family. You should be looking at the studies yourself.
Exactly.
Don't wait for the media to look at them. Figure things out for yourself, what's good for you and your family. And and do what's best. And a lot of that has to do with healthy living and living right. And even then, nothing is assured. The truth is, if it can live on surfaces for 28 days, if it's aerosolized, that if you walk out of your house, you will probably be exposed at some point.
Yes.
So you have
Or
to
already
prepare
are.
yourself to be exposed. And just because you're exposed don't mean you'll get it. Just because you get it doesn't mean you'll get sick. But you should be doing whatever it takes right now. Again, like you said, exercise, healthy eating. What else would you recommend?
A lot of herbs, vitamin C, vitamin D, as you mentioned. Golden seal is a really, really good herb that's both antiviral and antibacterial. You can always use oregano oil or have it on deck should you need it. Teas, not a whole lot of fat soluble foods, starches and things like that are, methods to keeping your body healthy so that it can ward off and protect you against viruses and, foreign objects.
So in that, we're going to talk to Lake Tilly Acres, who is actually in New Orleans, urban farming, providing a lot of the things you can get at the grocery store, but they're organic, they're healthy. You can see where they're grown, and it's done in a very thoughtful and healthy way. So here we are, Lake Tilly Acres. For a while, we talked about doing this for a while, but you have Lake Tilly Acres, and I thought that it'd be real good for people to know not only what you do, but how you do it. So tell us a little bit about Lake Tilly Acres.
All right, Lake Tilly Acres is a small urban farm that I started in New Orleans in the year 2016. So 4 years ago, and it's been interesting because how they would say, and I caught the farming bug. So I wanted livestock. I wanted to grow vegetables, and I thought about how can I make that work with being in the film industry already, and how the hours work there. How can I fit in the time to do, farming as a hobby? So it started small, and I got, maybe 4 chickens or whatever. And as you can see now, I got a few more than 4. And wanted to start being more sustainable and raising our own food and stuff like that. So that's how Lake Tilly Acres started. It started with 4 chickens and my garden in my backyard initially.
All right. And I know that now, you actually make money off this. And I know one of the things you do is microgreens. I believe you do eggs, also processing chickens. Tell us a little bit about how you moved into actually making money from it, and what type of products you have.
Well, I thought about it, like, how can I make this as a supplemental income? Because my jobs, all throughout my career of 16 years has always been off and on, off and on. You may work for 2 months and then you off for like 3 weeks. And in that meantime, it's like, well, what do you do, or what could I do? Is what I ask myself to become profitable in the meantime, in between time. And I thought, well, hey, if I like growing produce, why not trying to sell it? So just started back doing research on different farmers that were doing what I wanted to do in the urban area, and was actually becoming profitable from it. And profitable urban farming is a book that I read by Curtis Stone, who's from Canada. And once I found out about him and started watching his YouTube videos, and how he was farming on other people's land that he was leasing or trading for vegetables, I started to get into that, and that's how it pretty much started. And I farm on my front yard now, and along with the backyard and my neighbor's yard, and just leasing space, not buying space, but leasing enough space to grow a good amount of dense, nutrient dense crops. So I like focusing on lettuces and spinach and small root vegetables like carrots and scallions and dill, herbs, rosemary, thyme, basils. I started to get into all of that stuff, and then I stumbled upon microgreens by reading Curtis Stone's book and learning how profitable that crop was and how good it is for people. So a lot of people is still new to. So it's a way for me to introduce and educate people on, nutrient dense, clean food at the same time as be profitable from it. So microgreens is the main train of the head of the train on the farm. Along with poultry, of course, eggs, as fast as we can produce them. But poultry, grass-fed chicken, and along with other small leafy greens, like I said earlier, kales and whatnot.
Well, just tell us a little bit about the chickens, because that's what I've helped you with a few times. Like, how do you raise organic chickens? How do you raise grass-fed chickens? And a little bit about the processing. And the appreciation that it is a healthier way than just buying them from the store.
Right. Well, with our boiler meat birds, we raise them from a day old to about 8 to 10 weeks, and we feed them a non-GMO and soy-free feed. Also, moving these birds to fresh patches of grass every day. So it's like giving them a new salad bar every day. So that meat in the sunshine, in the fresh air, and moving them twice a day like that, plus the high octane feed, it makes the bird taste way better. And and until people can taste it, they don't really know the difference, because they always just buy the grocery store chicken. So and I was explaining to some people, like, some of that chicken that you get in the grocery store has been, shipped overseas to get butchered and shipped back, frozen. And by the time you get it in the store, it's been thawing out for a few days. So it's probably, a few weeks old. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Maybe by the time you get that chicken. So you don't really know what fresh chicken tastes like until you've had one of these grass-fed chickens. So once and like I said, I'm slowly gonna start branching out to doing more grass-based farming, if you want to put it that way. I want to grow grass in a sense. By the time we consume those animals, much more enriched with the actual energy from the sun is what's gonna raise these animals. So holistic management and regenerative agriculture is the way Lake Tilly is taken.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about, if people want to get in touch with you, how they can get in touch with you, where you sell your products, and also how often you have the organic chickens for sale.
The chickens, we are working on the infrastructural level so we can house more birds and raise more birds on pasture at one time. So to increase our batch numbers, we have to, increase our infrastructure. So we're in the process of doing that. And in the upcoming year, in the beginning of the year, we'll be more ready to take on next year's demand for a lot more clean, grass-fed chicken. So as of now, our batches are really small. We do batches maybe 50 at the most. And however many out of those 50 make it to the butcher weight, it usually varies. So it's a first come, first served basis. I highly suggest pre-ordering. Once we put that pre-order post out, so go ahead and pre-order your chicken so you don't have to worry about us selling out, because we will. And it sells out within a matter of a few days, if that long. Sometimes it sells out in a day. So but yeah, we want to, we know everybody's appetite is strong for good chicken, and a lot of people don't want to eat the grocery store chicken, and they feel they don't have another option, so they stop eating chicken altogether. But Lake Tilly is trying to give another option. So if you contact us,
right? That's what I was going to ask. You said post, so I was going to say where do you post that? How do they contact?
We're on Instagram at Lake Tilly Acres. If you email us at LakeTillyAkersNOLA@gmail, you can always get information like that. And Instagram and Facebook. We're also on Facebook as Lake Tilly Acres Urban Farm as well. So that's the best way to get in touch with us. And from there, it'll probably end up getting straight directed to me, and whatever order needs to be filled out, I'll handle that. Right now, we are sold out of chicken, so there's no pre-orders yet. We should have another batch coming down the line near Thanksgiving. So around Thanksgiving time, I'd start looking for posts from us to see how you can pre-order. And if you want to, take the risk and wait to the day of, you also can do that. And you pick up your bird from the farm. It's pretty cool.
Well, thank you, my brother. I appreciate you coming on, sharing this information. If I can, I'll definitely be there to help next time.
Oh yeah, well, I enjoy having you, man.
Yeah, it's a learning experience that I need.
I can't do it without y'all, man. I mean, the amount of work that is for one or two people by themselves is a lot. So whenever we call Moon the wrangler, he just for your audience, Moon goes in and he wrangles all the chickens when we're doing like sorting them out right before the processing. So without him being there, it's like, it'll slow down a lot. So I enjoy having you, man. I hope you come out every time we do it. And the more birds I get, the more demand for the chicken, that's the more we'll be doing this. So.
Yes, sir. All right, my brother. Thank you. I appreciate you, and definitely we'll see you next time. I do want to do another segment about your microgreens, so we'll have you back.
All right, cool. I appreciate you, Moon. Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Wow, now see, that's what I'm talking about. Brother Rome is so chill. You can tell he's excited, he's happy, he's peaceful and content. He's really doing it.
So last year, I decided to expand my garden. I got some small collards from my dad, and I had some. I had a lot of stuff actually. It was just me and my mother here, and we had way more food than we knew what to do with.
Wow.
So, when people talk about how hard it is, if you heard this brother say he works in the film industry, he was really being very modest. He is a cameraman on a lot of major motion pictures that you see. And so he would go to work probably 14, 20 hours a day. Like, I've worked in the film industry. You work crazy hours. And then afterwards, make sure that the food in his garden was growing and the chickens were fed. So, for him to be able to grow all of that and do all of that and feed his family and still have enough left over to share with, the community, to sell to the community. Whatever excuse you have on not being able to grow food, as far as I'm
It's out the
concerned,
window now.
as out the window.
Yeah. And I mean, even I have a small patio, but I have, okra. I did okra this summer. I have tons of ginger. I just put down some mustard greens and beans and that kind of thing. But people don't understand it really doesn't require a lot. But, you know, the harvest is so plentiful, and it's such a beautiful feeling when you're able to go out into your yard, grab something that you grew, and go straight into the kitchen and eat it. It's no feeling like it.
So this next segment is a little bit more on the consumerism, but with the hurricane that we just had, and also with everything going on, every couple months I go and I get food to put into storage. And this time, when I was about to put my food into long-term storage, which I showed you all in the last time, I usually do with buckets and Mylar bags. I said, let me film what I got and just engage people in a discussion about it. So what I'm about to show is by no means all of the food that I have stored. In fact, it's the food this is what I haven't stored yet.
Wow.
But I just wanted to show, when I go to the store and, get food for emergency preparedness, this is kind of what I get. So here we go. These are by no means all the food that I have stored. I was going to put my food into long-term storage, and I figured before I would show you all what I recently got for not only hurricane season, but also, for the elections, and just because it's kind of what I do. So I always make sure that I keep beans and rice. I mean, beans and rice is a staple. I already have plenty, but as far as I'm concerned, you can't have too much. Like I said before, every beans and rice, a 25-pound bag of each can last your family of 3, basically for a month and a half. So, it's a no-brainer to me that you would go ahead and, spend $30 to feed your family, and make sure that if anything happens in the supply chain, or even anything happens with your job, that you would still be able to feed your family for a long time. Self-rising flour. I have a lot of regular flour. To me, the self-rising flour is just, a little bit easier to use. I mean, things like pancakes, biscuits. I mean, so easy to make biscuits with self-rising flour. Table salt. Table salt is really just a staple. It's a staple of life. I mean, salt, you can use salt not only to store meat or things like that, but you can use salt in trade. Like in an emergency, people are going to need salt. The one thing that I added a lot more of that I did not have before was pasta. And the Barilla box is actually 2 10-pound bags of pasta. And I realized that I have a lot of beans and rice, but more than beans and rice, I really enjoy mac and cheese. So on a later episode, I'm going to show you all how to store cheese long term. I have cheese wax, and I'm going to show you all how to preserve cheese. But basically, I went and made sure that I have everything that I would need to make mac and cheese. So, the other thing, the boxes especially, I do the boxes because that is, as soon as an emergency happens, that's something that you can do right away. I wouldn't go into the long-term food storage right away. I'd probably, make some of that jambalaya, make some pancakes in the morning, things like that. So, the smaller boxes I have, and each one of those is around 30 servings. And I know a lot of people are wondering, where do I get this? Some of it is Costco. Some of it is places like Restaurant Depot. But you can find these bigger boxes and this food storage. So, all of these things are for basically right after an emergency, things that you can make right away. And the other thing that I have are cans. Of course, cans are going to last almost forever. You always, coconut oil has so many uses. But, cans last a long time. So I do make sure that I get cans. The bigger the better. And coffee. I love to drink coffee, but the other thing about coffee is that, again, if you're in a situation where you need to trade something, I think coffee is going to be one of those things that in an emergency may be harder to find. If you have a nice amount of it that you can trade, it's going to help you a lot. So
This is by no means all of the things that I have in food storage. I was just getting ready to put things in more of a long-term storage, and I figured I would share this with you all before I did.
Well, that was another
So today,
great informative video. Um, it definitely puts into perspective how much we need to store, and we don't realize that it can happen at any point. You were mentioning that we should have at least a 1 month's worth of food on storage just in case anything goes into lockdown. Previously, when COVID became an issue back in March, everything was gone. The shelves were clean, and no one really understood how long we would be in survival mode like that.
Well, the conversation so just recently I was interviewed, and I'm not sure, I may show it and I may not, because this was someone who they wanted information, and they wanted to be able to share it with specific people. But a lot of the conversation was around uh, the plan for an emergency and how Black people fit into that plan. And I'm sure you've all heard, if you've never heard the term the Golden Horde, the Golden Horde is essentially what they would call rioters, looters, whoever coming into someone else's area. So the way they imagine an emergency happening in this country is, say us in New Orleans, to the people of Slidell, Chalmette, Gretna, we would be the Golden Horde, because we would be running out of food and resources, and we would be going into their area to get what they have. And that also goes into the whole zombie metaphor. So, I was asked, well, what can we do about that? And, what we really need to do is be able to take care of ourselves, not have to go and get anything from anyone else. So what I've been advising people is have at least 1 month of food for your family. If you set aside 1 month of food for your family, that would give you a month to figure out what you're going to do for the next month. But at least at the very beginning of an emergency, your family would not be starving. And it's so easy. When you talk about the beans and rice I showed, that's $30 worth of beans and rice, and you can literally feed 3 people on that for a month and a half.
Exactly. So, in this case, what you purchased, how long could it stay in those packaging before you must store it in Mylar bags, which will allow you a longer shelf life?
Everything is different. Dry beans to some extent can last almost forever, but you have to deal with rats, insects, things like that. And the same thing with rice. So the Mylar bags and the buckets protect against them going bad, but it also protects against them being, eaten by other things. So there's a lot of things. The pasta I have will also last a very long time, but again, you have to worry about rats and mice getting to it. So putting it in Mylar is the best way to save in Mylar and in a bucket.
So one other question I have is, I'm always interested in knowing, how do you plan on cooking all of this should we have to bug in, say, in the event that we have electricity and gas, or without it?
Well,
are you ready?
I think that's another segment. So for myself, I definitely have a barbecue. Everybody knows how to barbecue, but I also, just to practice, cook things on my fire pit. But then I have a stove that takes butane. I have another stove that takes propane. I probably have 3 or 4 portable stove that take different things. So, whether it's charcoal, gas, wood, or anything else, I kind of have it covered. And I think that would be an excellent segment for another show.
Absolutely. And it also goes into our theme. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Absolutely. So we're almost done. We're going to go into, so everybody, I guess everybody knows, but one of the main things I do is, as a firearms instructor, it's been a challenge. I do work with NAGA, National African American Gun Association. And so I get calls all the time. Since this whole crisis hit, it's been especially Black women. They've absolutely taken this crisis seriously. In fact, I helped someone purchase a firearm just yesterday and help them get bullets. And that was the thing. They bought a firearm. The place had guns and no bullets.
Wow.
And you're going to find that a lot. They might have a few bullets with no guns, but right now, if you're getting something, you're a little late in the game. I'm definitely not saying don't go and get it, but just understand it's not going to be very easy. So in that vein, we've been taking people to the range, but ammunition is limited.
Right.
So there are a few other ways to practice. Right now, we're about to show dry firing. Next time, I'm going to show another way to practice with airsoft. But dry firing is an excellent way to practice firearms without using any ammunition at all.
Right.
So let's go. If you have any questions, we'll talk about it after.
So today we're going to talk about dry. With the current ammo shortage going on and everything going on in the world, it's hard to get to the range as much as we need to. And if you get to the range, you really don't know whether you're going to be able to replace that ammo that you use. So dry firing is an excellent way to not only keep your skills, advance your skills, to practice the fundamentals. There's a lot you could do with dry firing. I use it to not only practice trigger control, to make sure I'm getting my front sight where I need it, to practice changing magazines, to practice my grip, to practice pushing out, a lot of different things. So I'll show you that a little bit. So the first thing when I generally pull out, and today I'm having my in waistband holster, but when I pull it out the holster, press it forward, I'm checking to make sure that my grip is right. Once I do that a few times and my grip is right, then I'm looking at, pushing it out, clicking, pulling the trigger and seeing what happens to my front sight. Is it moving as I press the trigger? Different things like that. So let's go, and I'll show you from the side. So we're here, and I'm doing this slow. Press out. So now I'm checking to see where is my front sight. Is that where I want it? And I'll do that again. Get it, press out, and my grip is good. Front sight is good, and I'm not putting my finger on the trigger. And one thing I probably failed to mention was always make sure that your ammunition is someplace else. I don't have any ammunition out here with me right now. I checked the gun before we did this, but there's nothing, chamber, nothing there. Lock it back, look. So next, I'm actually going to pull the trigger. So without, press it, and see if my front sight moved at all. And that'll let you know if you're having problems with trigger pull. I have a Glock, so you have to do that every time. So you can also practice what I learned as tap, rack, bang. That's if you have a malfunction, you tap the magazine to make sure it's seated, you rack it again, and you pull that trigger, and it should go bang. Now, what I learned in USCCA, which is what I have, what I'm an instructor through, is they call it tap, rack, roll. It's the exact same thing, but they want you to make sure to remember to roll your gun to the side as you rack it to get that round out. So here, you pull it, nothing happens. Tap, rack. Now you're back. And the slide locks back because I don't have any bullets in it, but basically tap, rack, I'm ready to go again. So that's just a few things that you can practice. But, the main thing when you get it, you want to practice pressing out along your line of sight. See where that front sight is. Squeeze that trigger, press that trigger. And you want to make sure that when you're pressing that trigger, that the trigger is not going up or going off and things like that. But it can be a very useful tool in practicing, while you don't have it.
Well, so we kind of to the end of what we had for today. I appreciate everybody joining us. If you please comment, let us know if you got something out of this. Let us know what you want to talk about next time. We do have some things prepared for next time, but if there's something specific that you're interested in, we could always do that.
Definitely. Please let us know. No topic is too broad or too small. I do want to mention too that we mentioned a lot of things: ammo, survival, self-defense, food storage, the bug out bag. I do have two companies that are Black owned that I would like to share with the family: Black Star Survival, as well as Rest on Firearm. Those are two websites that you can go to on IG or the internet, and you can purchase all of your survival materials, as well as get vital information on gunfire, gun safety, as well as ammo and food as well.
And before we leave, I want to reiterate some of the things we talked about. Right now, there's a crisis in this country that's never been done before, which is the president of the United States saying that there may not be a peaceful transfer of power. I just want everyone out there to pay attention to that.
Right.
And everything else, make sure that right now you should be getting at least 1 month of food ready for your family. After you get a month, sit back and assess, and then go for 2 months. But the truth is that we need to be self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
And we need to be ready for emergencies, which is why this is Stay Ready NOLA.
Absolutely. Very important. We're definitely here if you need any assistance, if you need some guidance. Don't be afraid. Don't be nervous to reach out. That's what we're here for.
Thank you for watching. Take care.
You.